Hey everybody, welcome back to JT Channel and welcome to my picks and predictions for tomorrow night's Grand Slam Australia. That's right, doing an AEW show. I don't do these very often, not because I don't like AEW. I flippin' love AEW, but it's just harder to watch their shows than it is to watch like WWE's. It's just a streaming service, whereas AEW, they do a streaming service too, but just because I have Max doesn't mean it's free. All the Max stuff is just priced lower. So, you get it. I don't have to sit here and explain it to you. But I've done other AEW shows in the past. This one is just a free pay-per-view on TV. It's one of their special events they do. It's technically like an episode of Collision. But it's a 2.5-hour show, and it's basically a pay-per-view. So I figured I would pick and predict the thing, because I'm really excited for it. And so we're going to jump into it. Obviously, we have a little special guest on this episode. Happens sometimes. But we're going to jump in with Jon Moxley versus... His name is so hard to say. Takeshita. Konosuke Takeshita. Jeez, that was really hard to say. For the Continental Championship. This one, a lot of these are harder than I thought they'd be. Because this past Wednesday, AEW just threw a bunch of stuff at the wall to see what would happen. And it's been raved about. But pick-wise, I have a hard time going against Jon Moxley. He's been one of my favorite wrestlers since he arrived in AEW. Yes, I'm aware of who he was before AEW, but in WWE, Dean Ambrose was always just kind of held down. Even when he was WWE champion, he didn't feel like a champion. He just kind of felt like they gave him the belt to shut fans up, which, what does that sound like? But in AEW, he's treated properly, and this kind of natural babyface turn has been great, and I just love everything he does. So I would like him to keep the title for longer, plus... I have an inkling that maybe the Don Callis family is going to get involved and accidentally cost Takeshita because the Death Riders are feuding with the Don Callis family, so we'll see what happens there. But prediction-wise, part of me thinks that we might actually give it to Takeshita. I don't really know why I feel that way because, like I said, I have this inkling that we're going to get Death Riders, we're going to get Don Callis family members, and I can see that costing Takeshita and Jon Moxley retains. A lot of it has to do with this last episode of Dynamite, which I will talk about later. I'm not going to get too into it right now. But there were 2 title matches and 2 title changes. And we've seen a lot of surprise victories and stuff lately. AEW and Tony Khan are really trying to surprise people. And I'm not saying Takeshita or Jon Moxley winning would be a surprise. It's just, it kind of feels like it's time to take the title off Moxley. I know he just won it. But... he's a fighting champion and all that, and I don't know. I will admit that I'm having a harder time explaining this than I thought I would, but it's just how I feel. I feel like they're going to give it to Takeshita, but I would like Jon Moxley to win it, and, we really need to get to this Takeshita Okada match sooner rather than later. If you hear a bunch of background noise, my wife is doing some chores in the background. But yeah. So, this is going to be really good. I don't know why I picked this match to start. I just kind of threw together the matches in my head in what order I wanted to talk about them. But it also begs the question what Moxley will do next. Because, again, they are feuding with the Don Callis family. So, does he defend the title against more members? Or do we get the blow-off match finally? I don't know. I thought we already had the blow-off match. Excuse me. When they started with that big trio street fight or whatever it was. So it's interesting. It's interesting for sure, but I am going to stick with my pick. I would like Jon Moxley to retain, but I do think we may be giving it to Takeshita in Australia. Somebody is getting their head shaved in this next one. Tornado Tag Team, Mixed Tag, Everybody Everywhere matchup. Wheeler Yuta and Marina Shafir, once again we're talking about Death Riders, taking on Toni Storm and Orange Cassidy, and if I got this right, and I think I do, I think I've been watching the last couple of weeks here. I believe that it's only the person who gets pinned, who actually takes the fall, who gets their head shaved. So it's kind of weird that only the person that takes the pin gets their head shaved. But I get it. We're probably mostly doing this just to shave Wheeler Yuta, which is funny because if you go back and watch his early matches in AEW, trying to compare that person to the new Wheeler Yuta, the Wheeler Yuta we know now with the long hair and the big beard, it's almost 2 different people. So, pick-wise, Tony Storm and Orange Cassidy, prediction-wise, Tony Storm and Orange Cassidy. I think it's kind of obvious where we're heading. Probably Wheeler Yuta getting his head shaved. It's a tornado mixed tag match, so we'll probably get some interactions with Marina Shafir doing the Mother's Milk or something on Orange Cassidy. Tony Storm will probably pile driver Wheeler Yuta. I don't know if there will be any interactions the other way around. There can be. Like, you could have Orange Cassidy, Orange Punch, Marina. You could have Wheeler Yuta beat up Tony Storm, although I wouldn't. Although, then again, that would give a lot of heat to Yuta. But that's just how I see this going. I don't know how violent it's going to get, considering we have another stipulation match on the show. But it'll be interesting to see with it being tornado tag. There'll probably be some weapons used. I don't know if there'll be other members of the Death Riders in this. I hope not. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. It's just they've really pushed this narrative with Tony and Orange being worried about losing their hair, so they likely won't. Wheeler Yuta will probably get pinned by Tony Storm. I wouldn't mind that at all. That'd be funny. And then, yeah, they'll shave Wheeler Yuta, and it'll be weird. I don't think he's ever been bald, but he's never... Watching his hair grow and him become basically Cousin It over the last year or so has been really good. The big question, of course, after this is what happens next. I'm going to be doing that a lot with these matches, especially the main event. We'll get to it. But I don't know what we'll do after this. They'll probably be pissed that they lost. Maybe we'll do some more stuff with the Death Riders. Tony Storm and Marina Shafir need to have their big singles blow-off match. Maybe they can do that at Revolution or on Dynamite. I don't know. This one kind of seems pretty cut and dry. Tony Storm and Orange Cassidy are likely going to win. Yuta will take the pin, and then Yuta will have his head and probably his big old beard shaved off. So, pretty simple, that one. Hangman Adam Page versus Andrade El Idolo to determine, I believe, the number one contender for the world title at Revolution, which I think takes place in March usually. I haven't actually checked all this out yet. But this is going to be really good. I have been so impressed with AEW's commitment to pushing Andrade now. We all know his story. He left WWE, went to AEW, was barely used, went back to WWE, was barely used, went back to AEW, joined the Don Callis family, was under some sort of contract dispute, so had to leave AEW again. But ever since he's been back, he's got this new character, and he is just maybe better than he's ever been. He's incredible. That match with Kenny Omega from last Wednesday, I believe it was last Wednesday, it blew me away. They're both so good. They're both such good professionals. We're going to talk about more about Kenny Omega later. He's not on this show or anything, but trust me, we're going to talk about him. And then Hangman Adam Page is like the main character of AEW. He's been that way arguably since the beginning, and the only time he falls back, it's almost like he's still the main character, but we decided to choose side quests instead of the main story. It's so hard to explain unless you watch AEW as much as I do. My pick for this match is actually Andrade, but my prediction for this match is Hangman Adam Page. Now, again, as always, I will explain my thought process here. Because why would I want a heel to face a heel and yada, yada, yada? First of all, because it's 2026, and that's not really how it works anymore, right? Like, there's the heels, the bad guys that we all don't like the genuinely good heel type. That were like, boo, boo, like, that's how Dominic Mysterio used to be, and now we all love him. That's MJF. People love to boo MJF, and Don Callis, too, members of the Don Callis family. I could go on forever. Andrade isn't that person anymore. People really like Andrade. He's so good, and he deserves so much more, which is why I'm impressed with the commitment to the push. I would love to see Andrade versus MJF or Brody King. We'll talk about it. But let's just go off of what we've read online and say it's going to be Andrade and MJF. MJF retains. Let's just say that's what happens. That's such an interesting match because Andrade is part of the Don Callis family, who everyone hates Don Callis, but everyone also kind of hates MJF, which makes Andrade like a pseudo babyface temporarily anyway. And MJF can work with fucking anybody. Pardon my language. I've tried to not keep it down, but I haven't swore yet, I don't think, in this video. If I have, whoops. But he's just, MJF could work with Hangman, Andrade, Brody King. He could work with me. MJF could bring me to a 3.5-star classic if he wanted to. So I think it'd be cool to put Andrade in that position. All these other wrestlers that have been in this little mini tournament, like Swerve Strickland, Kenny Omega, Hangman Adam Page, Brody King. Not until now for Brody King. Again, we'll talk. all these guys that are kind of coming after MJF. And you could throw Darby Allin in there as well and somebody else. I can't remember. They've all been... Oh, Kenny Omega. Maybe I already said that. They've all been there. Whereas Andrade is kind of new to the main event scene. Maybe period. I actually can't remember if he ever did anything like this in the fan in WWE. So this is so cool. It's such an interesting change of pace. Which is why I predict Hangman Adam Page. I think AEW knows where their bread is buttered. As much as people like Andrade, Hangman Adam Page, again, main character. Maybe the most over babyface in the company. Tied with, again, Brody King. At the moment. Again, we'll talk. I keep kind of talking about him and MJF, but we won't talk about that match in full until it's time to talk about it. But he's always over. Everyone's always happy to see Hangman. I think we're going to get Hangman in the world title match at Revolution. I don't think he'll win the belt there. Not that I want to predict that far in the future. But, I think Tony Khan and AEW and everybody, the businessmen, know how much people love Hangman. It's the perfect foil for MJF. Or perhaps the perfect opponent for Brody King. I'm trying to look at this from every angle. And Hangman just makes the most sense. Yes. From a prediction standpoint. From a pick standpoint, from my personal feelings, ever since Andrade beat, I believe it was Swerve in that first match, I've been rooting for him to go all the way to the end. At least to the Revolution title match. So I'm rooting for Andrade, but I do believe we're going to put it on Hangman as far as number one contendership goes. No arguments. Not like, no, I don't want Hangman to win, but that's just how I feel about it. The women's tag team titles will be on the line as the Babes of Wrath, Willow Nightingale and Harley Cameron, defend against Mega Bad, Megan Bayne, and Penelope Ford. This is one of those matches where I'm having a really hard time with the predictions. Because I believe, and I should have looked this up, and I know her accent, and I'm going to sound stupid, and I apologize. But I believe Harley Cameron is from Australia. So part of me knows how AEW is, knows how the wrestling world has changed. So prediction-wise, I kind of want to say the Babes of Wrath are going to retain. However, these are new titles, and you can change them a little more often if you want to. So why not have Mega Bad win? And that is who I am rooting for. So my pick is Mega Bad. As far as my prediction goes, it is kind of in the air, because I can see Tony giving the titles to them and changing the belts over, and why the hell nodding it. But at the same time, I think I'm going to stick with my original gut feeling that I do think the Babes of Wrath are going to retain. But I don't want that. I said this recently on social media. I think Megan Bayne is one of those people. First of all, she's one of my guys, right? I said this in a video a couple weeks ago. You just have those people that are your guys. The first time you see them, you don't know why, but you just instantly, I like that person. And then they wrestle, and you're like, that's why. Megan Bayne is the newest one on my list of one of my guys. I know she's a gal, but whatever. You know what I mean. It's just like the big meaty men slap man meat thing. We just say that regardless of who's in the ring. She's one of those people that I have been supporting since the first time I saw her on AEW TV. Just like Tekla is another one that I didn't know who she was before she showed up and beat people up. I went and researched. I watched old matches. Immediately just loved the character and the persona. And now she's the women's world champion. I could not be more excited. I did, we'll talk. That's a different conversation. But again, Megan Bayne is one of those people. I think she's the future of the industry no matter what company she's in. If she wants to stay in AEW her whole career, great, fantastic, awesome. If she wants to jump ship someday, she'll do great in WWE too. How can you not do great when you're Megan Bayne? I have the freeze frame back here. Just the face-off between Willow Nightingale and Megan Bayne is so cool. I could just go on forever. She's got a presence about her. And Penelope Ford deserves a lot more. She keeps kind of floating around in good storylines and good matches, and then she gets injured or she just kind of disappears. Ever since she came back for this women's tag team title stuff, she's been incredible. Her and Megan Bayne work really well together, so I think you should go ahead and give them the belts. I don't think anybody would mind. Harley and Willow could always fight for them back. They could always go after other belts. There's a million things these gals can all do. They're all so goddamn talented. All of them. Harley Cameron, 2025 was her breakout year, and I could not have been happier. I've always been a decent Harley Cameron fan. She was one of those characters I always was like, I bet she could do more if they let her. And in 2025, she absolutely shined with Minnie Monet and the feud for I think she even went for the women's world title at one point. And then, of course, now Babes of Wrath. First ever women's tag team champions in AEW. So, as you can tell, I'm really into this match. Nothing against the matches I've already talked about, but I'm really excited for this. This is one of those ones where I'm like absolutely set on my pick. And that is, and again, also, two of the best tag team names in history. I'm so glad tag teams are getting proper names again. It's the Babes of Wrath versus Mega Bad, and your boy is rooting for Mega Bad. Kyle Fletcher is once again your TNT champion, and he is going to face Mark Briscoe in their 7th match against each other, because I didn't recognize this and I didn't notice it until it was mentioned and I heard Simon Miller talk about it, because they've been secretly having a best-of-7 series. They are 3-3, and this time Kyle Fletcher, the new TNT champion, we'll talk about in just a second, will defend against Mark Briscoe in their 7th match. And this one will be a ladder match. I thought I was going to say a ladder war for obvious reasons, but whatever. I'm sure we'll talk more about ladder wars during the match, like the commentary will and stuff. But this was super cool. Now I get to talk about this past Wednesday's Dynamite, which I could talk about for the rest of my life. I've said this on YouTube. I've said this on Twitter. I've said this on Facebook. I've said it all over, to the point where Sean Ross Sapp said he really enjoyed Dynamite. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select, I think, if you know what all that is. He said, he asked the question on X, did you like Dynamite? And I said that it was the best television wrestling show of the year. And Tony Khan liked my tweet. I know it doesn't matter to you guys, but I thought it was cool. And again, I've been saying that all over. I haven't stepped back on it. If anything, I've only doubled down. I do think this past Wednesday was the best televised wrestling show of the year so far. And you've got this show on Saturday. You've got Dynamite next week with Kenny Omega and Swerve Strickland. AEW is on an absolute fucking roll. This match of the year so far. Kyle Fletcher, Tommaso Ciampa for the TNT title. I can't remember how long it went. I don't care how long it went. It was incredible. And Kyle Fletcher is the TNT champion again. No, I do not think they buried Tommaso Ciampa, whatever. Stop being stupid. I think there's a plan here. Where we get back to maybe Ciampa and Briscoe, or maybe a triple threat, or Ciampa and Fletcher again. Point is, as far as picks and predictions go, I am picking Mark Briscoe, and I am predicting Kyle Fletcher. Now, again, they are in Australia, so Kyle Fletcher gets to come out and probably get a hometown pop and all that crap. But I think you can take one belt in all of wrestling. Think of how many belts WWE has. Think of how many belts AEW has, and New Japan, and even TNA at this point. I think I did a video late last year where I was like, people think AEW has too many belts, and WWE has like over 30 if you count all of the NXT belts and the Speed titles and all the AAA belts and the Evolve titles and all this. Because people count the Ring of Honor titles for AEW, so you better do the exact same thing for WWE. But with that said, there are too many belts in wrestling. So why not take one of them and let it be hot potatoed a little bit? Roman Reigns, 1,316, completely ruined our perception of title reigns. Having Tommaso Ciampa come in, win the belt in his first match, defend it in a triple threat match that was amazing, and then lose it in his next defense, what happens next? I think he comes back into this, and again, maybe we make it a triple threat, maybe he just fights whoever the champion is, which is why I think Mark Briscoe should win. I think he should win the TNT title back. Kyle Fletcher can lose in Australia. He can have a tantrum about that. And then maybe Tommaso Ciampa, keep not knowing how to pronounce his name for sure, comes in, and maybe he whoops both of them after the match. Then you can do triple threats, you can do singles, you can do this whole thing. Or maybe Ciampa goes somewhere else on the card. I don't know. But right now, as far as this match goes, this is going to be the match that's going to be brutal. It's going to be intense. It's going to be just probably disgusting because these two are going to kill each other. And I would just like to see Mark Briscoe continue to be treated like the star he is. And Kyle Fletcher will be fine if he loses the belt back. Again, you can continue doing the off and on, or you can kind of move Kyle back towards the main event scene, which I'd also be okay with. Could also turn to babyface if you really wanted to. So I think Mark Briscoe is going to become a 2-time TNT champion. Well, that's what I want to happen. But I do think AEW is going to be a little reserved with title changes this weekend after the double title change on Dynamite this week. So I think prediction-wise, Kyle Fletcher will probably retain. And then maybe we go into Fletcher Ciampa again, considering how good this match was. Or I know I'm repeating myself, you could do the triple threat. AEW sees triple threat matches in such a different and unique way as to other companies that you could do that triple threat at Revolution. But I do think you want to separate Briscoe and Kyle after match 7 of a best of 7 series. So we'll see I'm just kind of rambling, I know. But we'll see what happens. I am picking Mark Briscoe, but I do believe Kyle Fletcher will retain in his home country because that would be very cool of them to do. And if you thought I rambled during the last one, get ready for this because it is MJF versus Brody King for the AEW World Championship. And I'm going to make this as simple as possible. I do not want Brody King to win. I need Brody King to win. Do I think he's going to? No. But, so, quick version, picking Brody King and predicting Maxwell Jacob Friedman. However, after what happened last week on Dynamite, I think that maybe, just maybe, Tony Khan and friends could have a meeting and change their minds. Now, for those of you who don't want spoilers, potentially, maybe wind the video forward a little bit until I stop talking about this. But somebody asked during a Fightful Q&A if Sean Ross Sapp has heard of anything when it comes to the reaction that Brody King got last week. If it would maybe change AEW's plans, or if, was there any plans in Max losing the title, yada, yada, yada. According to Sean Ross Sapp, from what he knows, as of that episode of Dynamite last week, more than likely MJF was still going to retain. Which makes sense. I mean, I didn't think they were going to take the title off MJF anyway. However, with that being said, after last week, and after the massive surge in popularity Brody King got, even before the show in Vegas, I think they should put the title on Brody King. I understand that the plan, most likely, is to give the belt to Will Ospreay as long as he's okay at Wembley in super late August. But that's super late August. It's mid-February. Tomorrow's Valentine's Day. It's Friday the 13th. Be careful out there. But you could give the title to Brody King, and he could defend it against either Hangman Adam Page or Andrade. You could throw MJF in that match. This is the thought process I had while putting this video together, or while putting the ideas together, putting my notes together. The idea I came up with was you could do Brody King versus whoever the hell wins Hangman and Andrade versus MJF. MJF could weasel his way into a rematch, make it a triple threat. Remember what I said about triple threats just a second ago. And then MJF could steal the win. MJF could absolutely win the title back. Sorry about that. Anyway, Brody King could wipe out Andrade or Hangman, for example, which is only another reason Andrade could win this match. Could win that match. Brody could wipe out Andrade. MJF could hit Brody with a weapon or the Dynamite Diamond Ring, or just throw Brody out of the ring and then steal the belt back. Again, maybe you shouldn't hot potato a world title, but at the same time, I think the hot potato wing would just be to give the fans an opportunity to see Brody King as world champion. That's what I think they should do. You could just do the one-on-one rematch down the line. As long as whoever faces Will Ospreay at All In is a massive bad guy, someone like MJF, you could give the title to whoever you want. You have time. It's a lot like the WrestleMania break, right? Between Rumble and Mania. You got to do something. And while I'll give WWE a lot of credit for how hard they're pushing Finn Balor versus CM Punk, nobody believes it because we're not going to damage or jeopardize Roman Reigns versus CM Punk. This is a much bigger break, February to August. That's 6 months, whereas WrestleMania is like a little 2-month gap. So you have lots of time you can give the title to Brody King, and maybe he loses it to Andrade or Hangman, and maybe Hangman or Andrade loses it back to MJF all the way down the line. You got Double or Nothing. You've got all the other shows. I don't know AEW's whole pay-per-view schedule, but you've got all these shows and special events and pay-per-views down the line all before All In, assuming Will Ospreay is good. I assume the end game is Will Ospreay versus MJF in the main event of All In Wembley, and Ospreay finally wins the championship, and we can all cry, scream, and die all at the same time. especially the people in Wembley. But you have time. So pick-wise, I think it'd be silly not to at least try it, especially when you're going to have to tell an insanely good story to get me to believe. Now, I understand Hangman Adam Page showed up and distracted MJF, but Brody King killed MJF in seconds. He choked him out in less than 5 seconds, did the cannonball, did the Gonzo bomb, won the Eliminator. How AEW gets around that is going to be really interesting, especially with his popularity surge after last week's chance. Now, I promised you guys this channel would never get political. I made a joke about that in my 2-year anniversary video. I'm going to make a comment here and just move on. All I'm going to say is, I love Brody King. I'll leave it there. So, pick-wise, Brody King, and prediction-wise, I do think it's going to be MJF. It'll be interesting to see how they pull it off. Thank you, everybody, so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and leave your comments down below. I'm excited about this. Again, I don't do a lot of AEW picks and predictions because it's harder to purchase their pay-per-views than it is to pay for a streaming service once a month. Don't ask. I don't understand it either. But maybe if this video does well, we'll do more AEW ones, especially since rumor has it that Double or Nothing is going to take place on May 24th, which is my birthday. So you damn right we're going to do that one if that ends up being true. But until next time, real quickly before I end this video, I'm going to be busy this weekend. I have a lot of videos I want to do over the next couple of days to try to start a few things, get a few things rolling, and try to get the channel back to where it was. We'll see what happens. This is JT Channel. I am JT, and I will see you in the next one.